After a face-ripping rally to start the week, like Riz likes to call it, we ended up kind of almost where we started the week at. Let's talk about where the market's going to go for now. Good evening, my fellow Riz Elite members and all of our followers and subscribers on YouTube. Welcome to your weekly market recap. My name is Chris. I'm with Riz International, and this is our weekly webinar that we put on for all of our elite members to kind of give you an idea of what's going on in the market, where things are going, and what we're looking at. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure you do all the YouTube stuff for us. Click the like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. And leave a comment down below. We're going to be asking a question now on all of our webinars, and we'd like everyone to respond to the question in the YouTube comments. So if you could answer that question down below, that would be fantastic. And this week, the question is going to be, do you think support will hold on the S&P 500, or is it going to crack? It has been an absolutely wild up and down week in the market, and I kind of feel like we've talked about this before. We started the week on a huge dip buy. Obviously, we talked about how the market was oversold last week, right? When we were discussing, things really huge sell-off, push below 3,600 actually. And we're saying maybe we may see a bit of a bounce here. And yeah, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Monday, there was a lot of euphoria in the market. Everybody was like, oh, maybe the Fed's going to slow down on rate hikes. Maybe inflation's over. And of course, this is all just hypothesis. Everybody was saying maybe that's what's going to happen. And so everybody starts buying the dip, right? Because, we found the bottom. This is it. We found the bottom. So everybody starts buying. Tuesday happens. Everybody continues to buy. Now, there was a lot of different factors going in, and Riz kind of talked about that to our elite members, but I'll talk about it now for everybody on the YouTube and who maybe missed it in our elite alerts. Basically, there were three parts going on. The first I already mentioned, dip buying. Everybody was buying the dip, right? That used to be the old adage, BTFD, buy the flipping dip. People sometimes use a different word for the F portion, but I won't use that to keep it family friendly here. So everybody was buying the dip. Then, of course, we had basically people pricing in that maybe the Fed will slow down rate hikes. Maybe we'll see a rate decrease. We'll talk about that more in a minute. And then, of course, there were institutional shorts covering their short positions. And I think that is really what kind of pushed us up the most, is probably those whales dumping their shorts, locking in the profit from this nice sell-off that they were able to short into. Now, then Wednesday happened, and there was a lot of things that happened on Wednesday. First, we had the OPEC meeting, and I'll talk about that more when we get to the oil section. But there was really just a lot of indecision on Wednesday. We were up, we were down. We ended up kind of, a little bit up, but still down from the day before. Obviously, you can see here that this candle on Wednesday closed below where we closed on Tuesday. And then things just fell apart on Thursday, didn't they? So first off, we had a couple of catalysts going on. Let me see here. There, of course, was the OPEC catalyst. That's the big one. But then there was also, basically one of the Fed presidents, Atlanta Fed President Bostich, basically said, hey, I'm in favor of getting rates to 4 to 4.5%. And we are by no means there or anywhere close to that at this point. And he said, we're still in the early days of fighting inflation. And, we probably are not going to see a rate cut in 2023. And that pretty much did it. But things get even better on Friday. This huge drop down. Okay, what happened on Friday? This is the point where we like to say the people at the Federal Reserve really ought to just keep their mouth shut. That also goes for our current sitting president and commander-in-chief as well, because at a fundraising event, President Biden, said that, we're at risk of nuclear Armageddon. Apparently, the market is at risk of nuclear Armageddon at this point, the highest it's been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And basically, the Fed said, yeah, we're not going to cut rates anytime soon, and we're probably going to continue to raise rates like we've been talking about. So everybody, all of this hype that had built in on Monday and Tuesday, plus the OPEC meeting, and then the Fed basically saying, well, yeah, we're going to keep raising rates. pushed the market down right to our support level where we hit before. Now, if you are one who is a stickler for details, I had this area marked slightly incorrectly for the last few weeks, but still it's right around 36.40, right? I was going off the low on this candle, which is 36.87. We roughly call that 340, but where did we close on Friday? Right on support. So, really big support levels being hit this week. We see over, let's see, this is over a 100-point move in the market. If you want to call it over a 200-point move, we talk about where we started from and where, the amount we went up and the amount we went down, cumulative. Well over a 200-point move in the S&P 500 in just 1 week. And things are only getting crazier. I might mention the fact of the bridge in Crimea getting hit. That is all over social media right now. Everybody's talking about that following the war in Ukraine at this point. So we're going to have to see how that affects the market if Vladimir Putin does anything silly, and if there's more talk about, the big one, right? Now, of course, I'm not going to go ahead and say that anything like that is going to happen, but listen, the talk about it, the saber rattling is very reminiscent of what was going on back in the 80s and the 60s for that matter. And so there's a lot of different catalysts going on. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later, though I think we covered basically everything. Let's take a look here at the breakdown of the S&P 500. So even on this big rally, we did not see a whole lot of movement in some of these beat down security sectors, rather. We did see a little bit of a push up, but honestly, we lost pretty much everything that we gained for the most part on all of them. Everything is still looking terrible. Utilities taking a big hit, now negative 10% on the year, whereas before we were up, at a couple points, plus 10% on utilities. And then the one thing that's rallying like crazy here is energy. Now, I might mention that Monday, the 26th, was the attack on the Nord Stream pipeline. I'm not going to theorize on who did it. In all honesty, it really doesn't matter. But this is where the Nord Stream got hit, and energy has done nothing but go up ever since. Now, I will also say that oil has been pushing up, and we'll take a look at that here in just a minute. But yeah, this really following close to the price of oil really pushing this up higher. And, of course, the talk of a cold winter in Europe isn't helping either. I told you we'd talk about the OPEC meeting, so let's go ahead and talk about it here. Since the 26th and the 27th, oil has been on an absolute tear. We traded USO, which is one vehicle that we trade oil in. All of our elite members got alerted to that, and if you followed that trade, you should have made some cash, so congratulations. But yeah, oil really running up here. And now, this is the interesting part that you're not going to hear pretty much anywhere else other than on Elite or on our YouTube channel. So y'all are lucky if you're watching this far into the video. My statistics tell me that most people actually do watch this far into the video, so congratulations. All right, everybody and their mother on mainstream media is saying OPEC is cutting production. OPEC's cutting production by 2 million barrels. Oh my gosh, we're going to have that much less. So what happens when supply goes down? That means price goes up. Supply and demand. If demand stays the same and supply drops, that means the price has to go up to meet that equilibrium. The thing is, OPEC is not cutting 2 million barrels per day. What they're doing is they're changing their quota. And this is something, if you do some digging, you can find out, but no one is talking about it because, well, it's not a very sensational headline, is it? It's not, OPEC is not producing as much oil. It's just saying that, okay, well, our quota, we're going to bring it down 2 million barrels per day. That's it. So the production is actually the same, but now the price is going up. All I'm going to say is price manipulation, and I'm going to leave it at that. But this is pretty nutty what, people are doing with basically a play on words and all the mainstream media taking it and running with the narrative. But you can see the result. Oil was down here at around just close to $75 per barrel, a little bit higher. And now, let's see, where did we close on Friday? We closed at almost 95. It looks like 92.64. So really big run up in oil here since the 26th. And of course, that meeting didn't really help anything. So that's a little bit frustrating. I know I'm seeing the prices of the pump go up, which is never fun for the pocketbook. That being said, we have broken through this downtrend. Oil is now officially has broken the trend at this point and is on a pretty much a nice little rally. Gold kind of pushed up here after we broke support. We were talking about breaking support. Multiple attempts, dipped a little bit lower, and then, well, we're now back in our channel. That being said, really big sell-offs here in oil, basically mirroring the market on Wednesday through Friday. For gold, if I said oil, I apologize. Yeah, gold is what we're talking about here, back in its channel. And we'll see again if 1680 holds as support for gold, but no word yet. Of course, we'll have to wait for that to actually test. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. We were talking about what happens when we get to our descending resistance line, and right now we basically kind of touched it, pushed a little bit over it, and back down. We're following that line down. Now, we'll have to see here over the next couple days whether this line holds. We've been having this trend line on here for months. And so far it has been respected, but we will see here in the next couple days if Bitcoin can, mount some type of a rally, push over 20,000, and a hold over 20,000 would be nice for a couple days if you are into that sort of thing. But yeah, let me zoom in here a bit. You can kind of see that a little closer, really just hugging that trend line right now, down at least. But yeah, if we get down here back to 18,000 again and we get below that, I wouldn't want to be holding Bitcoin at that point. That's just me. But yeah, be very, very careful with cryptocurrency right now. With all of the volatility in the market, crypto is suffering, to say the least. I did want to talk a little bit about a few of the trades that we took, especially one that was pretty crazy if you were following the chat on Friday. Now, this one was not one for people who are risk averse. Let's just put it that way. Altus Motored Vehicles. This is what we call some BS right here. That's all I'm going to say. Since the IPO, let's see, we IPO'd at, let's see what we open at, $30 a share. We ran up past 240. We gapped up over 240, sold off. This was a little bit of, well, let's just say that early adopters on this one who had some shares were not allowed to sell. So there's a little bit of unhappiness there. And I suspect the SEC might get involved in this because this looks like some straight up BS to me. But we were playing this thing short on Friday. Now, of course, it would be lovely to short it up here at 240, but no one in their right mind is going to do that. Let's just be honest. And so Riz took two positions in this against my recommendations after his first one to just say, hey, take it easy. You made a ridiculous amount of profit, and leave it at that. Riz just couldn't leave well enough alone. And well, lo and behold, he got it right a second time. There was a lot of craziness going on in this one. And I wanted to talk about this because it really kind of typifies what's really going on right now with all of this, crazy price action in the market, especially looking at something like Wednesday when there was just so much upside and downside. And we just kind of closed like in between that zone. You really need to be looking at, when you have profits available, go ahead and take it. And that was one of the things that we talked about, especially on Tuesday. Riz specifically said, put your profit stops in place. And I firmly believe in that. And if you were buying down here, like some of our members did, and you put your profit stops in, you would have made a nice little return over about a 3-day wait period. So that's pretty solid. But in this market, it's so important to take profits when you get them, to not bag hold. A market like this is not a time to be like, oh, well, it's just a temporary down day. It'll be back up here in another couple days. There's no guarantee of that. If you bought up here around 4,300, let's just say, you're not too happy right now when we're sitting down here at 3640, our support zone. So be mindful of your positions. If you get something in the profit, I'm not saying, whenever you profit for just $1, go ahead and take it off. But be very careful with your positions right now. Think of it more of short-term swing trading as opposed to, just day trading, because of course there are restrictions on a lot of our folks here in Riz Elite, where of course you have the pattern day trading rule, hampering many folks. But even if you do have the capital to day trade, be very, very careful with it. From a former day trader myself, I can tell you how much you can lose in a day. So be very, very careful with that. But that being said, you can make a lot of money in it if you take solid positions and you know your stops and where you get in and where you get out. So with that, I want to go ahead and open it up to questions for all of our members here in Elite. I didn't get any PMs this week. Of course, I want to encourage you, if you're part of our Elite membership, make sure that you go ahead and use that PM feature on Discord. Shoot me your questions before webinar, and I will be more than happy to ask them for you and discuss them here live so that you can get your questions answered. Last week, we had quite a few tickers that people wanted to take a look at. This week, apparently not. But yeah, I see a couple people typing here, so let's wait for those questions to come in. All right, we got our first question. It says, Chris, where do you see the S&P 500 heading for the rest of the year as we're approaching the end already? I know, isn't that crazy to think that we're almost done with 2022? I feel like we just started. So me personally, I think that, and of course, this is just my opinion. This is not to be construed as financial advice, nor should you trade based on what I'm about to say. I think that we may see 3,600 this week, and we may see a break, especially if things continue the way that they are in Eastern Europe and with the Fed. I don't see things changing too much as far as the trend and direction of the market right now. We're in a very strong downtrend. We have been since the beginning of the year, and it has not quit. Honestly, I think we could see 3,500 here in a couple of weeks. Whether we break below that is a very big question. That'll be another big buying opportunity. I suspect there will be more dip buyers down there at that point, ready to deploy their capital. And of course, as all of our Elite members have access to Riz's dip buy list and strategy for how to trade this market, you know where we recommend you get in at. Now, I'm not going to discuss that here on the webinar because that's for our Elite members only. But I think there's more downside to be seen. I think that with all of the quantitative easing, with all of the rate cuts and things like that, there is a price to be paid, and we are paying for it right now. As they say, there's no such thing as a free lunch, and I think that people got used to their free lunches for far too long, and now it's time to pay the piper. So I think that we see more downside by the end of the year. Whether we end near 3,500 or somewhere in between is yet to be seen. Of course, any catalyst in the market can push it either direction. Whether it be good news or bad news, or news that seems bad but is thought of as good by the market. We're in that kind of a market at this point. So I think we'll end on the year in the negative for sure. I do not see us getting back here to where we started the year at. No chance in at all. That one I think you can take to the bank, that we will not make it back to 48.20 by the year's end. It would be the stupidest thing I'd ever seen at this point if that happens. With all of the rhetoric going on and all of the fear surrounding war and things like that, I think that, that negativity will continue to push the market down for at least another couple months. Now, if there is a peaceful solution that comes about in Eastern Europe, if the rhetoric cools off, and if cooler heads prevail, then maybe we start to curl back up. But, honestly, I think here for, the next couple of days, this is my prediction. I think we're going to come down here and test 3,600. I think we're going to come back up. I think we're not going to make it as high as we did before. And I think we're going to kind of come down like this and maybe get close to 35 before we start to push back up. That's my prediction for the rest of the year. It's a beautiful little line there. I don't know, of course, if that's going to happen. And anybody who tells you that that is exactly what will happen is full of BS. We'll just put it that way. But I think that this is a fairly, reasonable thought process here. It's like I'm pretty confident here next week we'll see 3,600 again, unless we have some really positive news. At that area, I think we may see another bounce that has been very solid in the past. Maybe push back to 37, maybe even 38, but I think honestly we're going to make a new low, or a lower high, I should say. And then after that, I think it breaks, especially if they keep upping interest rates, especially if tensions out east remain high, and in the Taiwan Straits, of course, there's a lot of rhetoric going on all around there. And yeah, I think that's kind of my opinion for what's going to happen. Now, I will say December is usually pretty slow in the market. So, kind of what I've drawn here would represent a fairly big move. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, there's always Thanksgiving and things like that on Black Friday. We'll see how sales go as far as that's concerned. But that's my prediction. Worth probably about the same amount of paper that it's written on. You'll notice that all of this is written on digital, so that's how much it's worth. But that's my guess. I think another test of 36 is due here based on all the catalysts happening. And then I think we bounce. We'll be close to oversold at that point if we hit it again. And then I think we continue further down from that. Hey, no problem. Glad that I could give you my opinion. Again, that's all it is just my opinion. But I think we're in for more downside here over the next month and a half as we close the year out in December. Do we have any other questions from the chat? Glad all of you are here. I see a lot of you here tonight. It's great having everybody. Well, I'm not seeing anybody typing at the moment, so we'll go ahead and call it an evening. I want you all to do something for me. I know there's a lot of negativity out there right now. What I want all of you to do, and this includes all of our YouTube subscribers as well, I want you guys to go out there and just have a good time this weekend. Go out, enjoy yourself, and that doesn't mean you have to spend money, all right? You could go out and take a walk. Go walk outside. If it's nice near you, it's pretty nice near me. At the moment right now, it's like right in the mid 60s during the day. The weather's perfect for like a sweater if you get chilly easily, or if you're a bigger guy like me, you don't really need a sweater. But it's just wonderful weather out there right now. Go for a walk, go to the park, spend some time in nature, do something that you love. Maybe you've stopped doing a hobby because of all this stuff going on and you kind of miss it. Go out and do that for me this weekend and just enjoy yourself. Take a break from all of this negative news cycle that's going on right now, and just stop and smell the roses, as they would say. And I think that'll help you feel a little bit better, and maybe we can bring some positivity back. Of course, I know that we can't affect the markets, but what we can affect is what's going on in our heads. So everybody, let's just take it easy this weekend. Have some fun. Go enjoy yourself. I'm doing it, brother. I'm preaching. And we will see you all on Monday. Good night, everybody.